Today we're going to be talking about poetry. Many of you have studied poetry in the past, looked at music, and read books that contain either free verse poetry like Kwame Alexander or more poetry that rhymes like Shel Silverstein. So I like to start us off with a quote, what is poetry? So we start off with the metaphor, poetry is a secret kingdom. This quote likes to talk about sensory language. So if you engage all your senses, seeing, touching, listening, smelling, and tasting, the gates open. Seemingly unimportant things begin to speak. Salmon, colored geraniums, a smooth beach stone, your mother's voice when she calls your name, the diesel smell of the school bus, and that first bite of a Snickers bar. Details are the beginning of poetry and the doors to your kingdom. This is a poem by Eleanor Farjeon. What is poetry? Who knows? Not a rose, but the scent of the rose. Not the sky, but the light in the sky. Not the fly, but the gleam of the fly. Not the sea, but the sound of the sea. Not myself, but what makes me see, hear, and feel something that prose cannot. And what is, who knows? This is an example of a list poem. It's called Just for Fun, I Can't Write a Poem. Forget it. You must be kidding. I'm still half asleep. My eyes keep closing. My brain isn't working. I don't have a pencil. I don't have any paper. My desk is wobbly. I don't know what to write about. And besides, I don't even know how to write a poem. I've got a headache. I need to see the nurse. Time's up? Uh-oh. All I have is this dumb list of excuses. You like it? Really? No kidding. Thanks a lot. Would you like to see another one? By Bruce Lansky. Right now you should have a copy of the fill-in-the-blank poetry notes in front of you. As we go through the next couple slides, please take some time to fill in the blanks as we go along. Let's start with an easy term we've known about since the beginning of the year. Figurative language helps poets create word pictures. We've talked about figurative language when we've studied simile, metaphor, onomatopoeia, hyperbole, personification, and idiom. To review, a simile compares two unlike things using like or as. For example, from the poem The Spider, if I say lines that cut like slender knives, we're comparing lines to slender knives using the word of comparison, like. Make sure that your two things being compared are different from each other. A metaphor compares two unlike things without using the words of comparison, like or as. With 6 small diamonds for his eyes. This is comparing diamonds to eyes, and notice that we don't have the words like or as. Personification is a form of figurative language in which an idea, object, or thing is given the characteristics of a human. From Living Tenderly, the author writes, I travel where my house walks. Hopefully, none of you have had a circumstance where your house has grown legs and walked away. A hyperbole is an extreme exaggeration or overstatement that a writer uses for emphasis. This is Shel Silverstein's poem from Cynthia Stout Would Not Take the Garbage Out. Shel Silverstein writes, the garbage reached across the Golden Gate. This means that there was so much garbage, it went from one end of the Golden Gate Bridge to the other. That's quite a bit of garbage. A stanza is a unit of lines grouped together. This is similar to a paragraph in prose. When you're writing, a lot of times you want your stanza to represent one idea, and you start a new stanza to represent your next idea. Sometimes a stanza can be a single sentence. Let's take a look at this poem by William Carlos Williams, titled, This is Just to Say. I have eaten the plums that were in the icebox, and which you were probably saving for breakfast. Forgive me, they were delicious, so sweet and so cold. Right here, we have stanza 1, followed by stanza 2, and the last one is stanza 3. You'll notice that there is no punctuation in this poem. However, we have an idea here, here, and here that could possibly be a separate sentence if there were punctuation. The next thing we're going to look at is rhyme. Rhyme is the repeating of two or more words which sound alike. Rhyme can occur in a few different places. The most common one is when rhyme occurs at the end of the line. However, there are things called internal rhymes, which is when a rhyme occurs within a line. An internal rhyme that would be from Edgar Allan's poem, The Raven. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary. That right there is a whole line of poetry, and you'll see dreary rhymes with weary. You can also have internal rhymes on separate lines. For example, if I say, I see a red boat that has a red flag, just like my red coat and my little red pail. Boat and coat rhyme, however, you'll notice that they're in the middle of each of their own rhymes. You can also have something called a slant rhyme. This is when your middle rhymes with your end, or vice versa. So if I say, the snowflakes are dancing, floating and falling, the church bells are calling, but I will not go. Falling at the end is rhyming with calling, hence the slant, and that would be an example of a slant rhyme. For you to have a good internal or slant rhyme, this needs to be happening for every single line. So if you're doing a slant rhyme, you'd have to go end, middle, throughout the poem. It can't just be a one-time thing. Same with an internal rhyme. If you're doing an internal rhyme, it needs to happen throughout the entire poem. Here's an example of a poem that contains end rhyme by Emily Dickinson. A word is dead when it is said. Some say, I say it just begins to live that day. You have two end rhymes here. You have dead and said, as well as say and day. Your rhyme scheme is the pattern in which the end rhyme is occurring. This is important to track because there are certain types of poems, like limericks or sonnets, that require a certain type of rhyming for it to fall into that category of poetry. Do you remember this rhyme? Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are, up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. To track your rhyme scheme, what you do is you find the first rhyme, which is going to be star, and you label it A. Then you look for anything that rhymes with star. So we have R. We also label that A. Now we know high does not rhyme with star or R, so that becomes a B. But high and sky rhyme, so that will also be a B. This makes your rhyme scheme A, B, B. These are some more examples of nursery rhymes. I highlighted the words at the end to show that they are the ends of the line. We're going to notice that we're in couplets. That means that you have two lines in a row that rhyme. For example, there was an old woman who lived in the shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread. She whipped them all soundly and put them to bed. Shoe and do rhyme, so they're going to be A. Bread and bed rhyme, so those are going to be B. Because our rhyme scheme is A, B, that means we have two couplets. Our next poem says, hush-a-bye baby on the treetop, when the wind blows the cradle will rock. When the bough breaks the cradle will fall, down will come baby, cradle and all. Once again, top and rock rhyme, so we have A. Fall and all rhyme, so we have B. So once again, we have an example of couplets, two couplets, creating our nursery rhyme. Rhyming does not always have to occur in one line to the next. Let's take a look at this poem by William Wordsworth titled Daffodils. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in a never-ending line along the margin of the bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in a sprightly dance. Now, shine is our first line, so that's automatically A. However, shine and way do not rhyme, so we know that way has to be B. Now, shine and line do rhyme, so that means the line has to be A. And way and bay rhyme, so that has to be B. Bay does not rhyme with glance, and line does not rhyme with glance, so that makes it a C. Glance and dance rhyme, so now they're both C's. So our rhyme scheme is A, B, C, C. And what we'll probably see is in future stanzas of this poem that rhyme scheme pattern of A, B, C will continue. Here's a poem that has a very complicated rhyme scheme. So let's start at the beginning. I wandered lonely as a cloud. Cloud is going to be A. Now we know that floats on high over vales and hills. Hills is going to be B. Now looking ahead, cloud and crowd rhyme, so we know that's going to be another A. And hills and daffodils rhyme, so that's going to be another B. Trees does not rhyme with cloud and does not rhyme with hills, so that's going to be a C. And trees rhymes with breeze, so that's going to be C. Now, the pattern continues as we keep going, so we go D, E, D, E, F, F. Now, this is where our little trick comes in. They is our next rhyme, but looking back, you'll see that bay and way rhyme with they. So we actually have to go back to that letter and label it E. Looking ahead, gay rhymes with they. But glee does not rhyme with anything, so we're going to continue with the next letter of the alphabet, which is G. And another G. And then thought and brought are going to bring us to H and H. Lie is going to be I. Mood is going to be J. I, J. But watch out, once again we have fills and daffodils, which actually brings us back to the beginning of the poem where we have daffodils in the hills. So those rhyme with the B couplets. So it's important that you look at the whole poem to make sure that you catch any rhymes that may occur later in the poem too. So our rhyme scheme is actually going to be A, B, A, B, C, C, D, E, D, E, F, F, E, G, E, G, H, H, I, J, I, J, B, B. This is a poem by Robert Frost called The Road Not Taken. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and I am sorry I could not travel both. And be the one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Take a moment right now and see if you could come up quickly with what the rhyme scheme is. If you guessed A, B, A, B, you're correct. Alliteration is the repeating of the beginning consonant sounds. You'll see at the bottom of this page that there's a YouTube link. I'm sending you a separate email with these links so that if you want to take a look after the presentation, you have the opportunity to go through it. Alliteration repeats a sound. It doesn't necessarily always have to be the correct spelling. For example, F and PH make the same sound. So if you have a word that begins with F followed by a word that begins with PH, you're still going to have an alliteration. And it's that sound that's being repeated over and over again in a line of poetry. Examples of alliteration, the best ones are tongue twisters. Tongue twisters twist your tongue and make it hard to say these things by repeating sounds over and over again. Let's take a look at the first tongue twister. Peter Piper. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. A peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? Now, taking a moment and thinking about that, the sound that's being alliterated is very clearly the P sound. Let's take a look at the one on the bottom left. She sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells are surely seashells. So if she sells shells on the seashore, I'm sure she sells seashore shells. So this one has a lot of S and also SH in it. So those are the sounds that are being alliterated. Let's take a look at a poem that has more than one sound being alliterated in it. So we have rain. Rain races on the porch. We have the R sound being alliterated. Hitting hard like. Here we have the H being alliterated. Rockets rushing in a race to the glass. Rattling rain, rattling the window panes. Once again, we've switched to I. The droplets dance daintily, we're alliterating D, until they cleverly connect in, we're alliterating C. A pool of promise for a rainbow, and now we're alliterating P. One final alliteration, see how many you can find. It's called spinning dry. If I had a choice when it was time to clean, I'd like to jump into our washing machine. From sudsing and soaking and rolling and churning and bobbing and bubbling and twisting and turning. Now come my chance to feel just like a flyer as I get to hop out and spin in the dryer. I'd roll all around with a fluttering, flopping, just floating, and turning with no thought of stopping. It sounds like such fun, this incredible fling, that I wouldn't mind if I got static cling. This one demonstrates that you can also have alliteration that crosses more than one line. So we have the F sound being shown in the second stanza on the last two lines. Another reviewed term is onomatopoeia. Once again, this is a word that imitates the sound it represents. Some examples of onomatopoeia are splash, pop, bang. Some more examples of onomatopoeia are yip, yap. We have blam, bang, whoosh, pow, yow, boom, ping, roar, pow, splat, and whack. And we have another page of examples of onomatopoeias. So achoo is a common one, burp, bump, buzz, fizz, glug, scream, screech, thud, vroom. This poem has a lot of great onomatopoeias in it. It's called A Little Bit of Nonsense by Denise Rogers. Crack an egg, stir the butter, break the yolk, make it flutter. Stoke the heat, hear it sizzle, shake the salt, just a drizzle. Flip it over, just like that, press it down, squeeze it flat. Pop the toast, spread the jam thin. Say the word, breakfast in. This has great onomatopoeias like crack, sizzle, and pop. Additionally, you'll notice a lot of alliteration of the s sound, so you'll see a lot of S. These next two poems contain many alliterations and onomatopoeias. As I read them, see how many you can find. Our first poem is called Softly Swishing Sea Swells by Lee Emmett. Softly swishing, sea swells, wind whips, wave washes. Flip, flop fish flails, squid squelches, squashes. Seagull skimming surface, albatross arms arches. Grass is growing, gorgeous. Beach bronzes, bombs. Our next poem is titled Tequamanon Falls by Denise Rogers. Water rushing, gushing, pushing, past the limits of the edge. Water barrels off the ledge, whipping up the bottom sludge, making the water look like fudge, growling with a freight train's roar, wildly rushing out some more. You can harness all the power as it flashes hour by hour, and will never ever stop, thickly loaded from the top. Water flowing, swiftly whooshing, always whisking, always pushing, to the river down below, always rushing, never slow, till it falls right past the islands. Give it just another try, and, with a mild and calming quiver, it becomes a simple river. It's amazing if you spy it, all the noises, and then the quiet. Rhythm is the pattern of stressed and unstressed sounds in a line of poetry. Rhythm contributes to the musical quality of a poem. If you listen to a lot of music on the radio, these are artists, who are masterful at using rhythm to create a beat that they put their sound to. As you'll see, there's another link here that I'll be emailing to you for you to go look and learn more about rhythm. So when I'm talking about stressed and unstressed sounds in a line of poetry, I want you to be thinking about what words or sounds, parts of words that you hear emphasized. So this is from a song. If I wrote, I am unwritten, can't read my mind, I'm undefined, I'm just beginning, the pen's in my hand, ending unplanned, staring at the blank space page before you, open up the dirty window. Think about what sounds are being emphasized in the poem. Those will be your stress sounds, and then everything else is the unstressed sound. Here's another example. I'm sure many of you heard this song before. Life is a highway. I want to ride it all night long. If you're going my way, I want to ride it all night long. Life's like a road that you travel on when there's one day here and the next day gone. Sometimes you bend, sometimes you stand, sometimes you turn your back to the wind. There's a world outside every darkened door where blues won't haunt you anymore. Where brave are free and lovers soar, come ride with me to the distant shore. We won't hesitate to break down the garden gate. Now, when you're thinking about what noises, sounds, and words are being stressed here, you'll notice that a lot of times the word that is stressed the most are things being rhymed at the end of the line. Refrain is the repetition of one or more phrases or lines at certain intervals, usually at the end of each stanza. For those of you who sing in chorus, I want you to think about when you're singing a song, the refrain is the part that you sing throughout the song over and over again. It's usually an entire stanza. And when you're singing in chorus, it's called, actually, the chorus of the song. Repetition, on the other hand, is just a word or a short phrase that's repeated within a line or a stanza. So if I was writing a line of poetry and I wrote, the animal grazed and grazed, grazed is being repeated. So that would be an example of a repetition. Let's take a look at this excerpt from Macbeth by William Shakespeare. So they wrote, double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. Fillet of a fenny snake, in the cauldron boil and bake. Eye of newt and toe of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog. Adder's fork and blindworm sting, lizard's leg and howlet's wings. For a charm of powerful trouble, like a hell broth boil and bubble. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. So this part of the play is coming from the three witches who are promising to make Macbeth king. The refrain that they're using as they're saying this is double, double, toil and trouble, fire, burn, and cauldron bubble, because these couple lines are repeated throughout the poem a few times. Ironically, within the frame, there's also a repetition. Double, double would be an example of a repetition because we're repeating the word double twice. So now we're going to be switching over to imagery, symbol, and tone. I'm going to be reading the poem Buffalo Dusk by Carl Sandburg, and I want you to think about how these three concepts might apply to it. The buffalo are gone, and those who saw the buffalo are gone. Those who saw the buffaloes by thousands, and how they pawed the prairie sod into dust, with their hoofs, their great heads down, pawing on a great pageant of dust. Those who saw the buffaloes are gone, and the buffaloes are gone. You'll notice right off the bat that we have once again a refrain of the buffaloes are gone throughout the poem. So imagery. Imagery is language that appeals to the senses. So thinking back to the buffalo poem, we have the image of touch. So we have the buffaloes pawing at the sod of the prairie, and we can see the dust that's being raised by their paws. Imagery in poetry is most often visual, but it can appeal to any of the other senses. Imagery is one of the elements through which a poet tries to reveal their meaning. Symbol is a concrete or real object used to represent an idea. For example, a common symbol that we see is the eagle in the United States, representing freedom. In the buffalo poem, our buffalo is the symbol. We see the image of a buffalo used a lot with national parks and animals being able to roam freely. So we have a sense in this poem that something's happened if the buffalo are gone, that there's not that freedom anymore for animals. And tone, as we learned about, is a writer's attitude towards his or her subject. It can be serious, sarcastic, objective, and so on. Unlike mood, where we're talking about the reader and how they feel, remember we use the phrase I feel, tone is focusing on the writer's feelings and how word choice conveys to us how that writer is feeling. So thinking back to Buffalo Dusk, I think we can make the assumption that the writer is feeling some sort of sadness because we have repeated throughout the poem, the buffalo are gone. At this time, you should have filled out all your notes. Now I'd like you to go into your email and click through some of the different links I sent you, the YouTube links, to continue practicing your new poetry terms.